The following is a Live the Dream Media production.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It feels good to follow up Wake Up with Christopher DeSimone today. It was great promo before the show. It feels good to be talking to you guys again. I feel like I haven't been in here for a long time, but it feels great. Camera and everything's looking great. The whole studio's looking awesome. Props to our directors and engineers, Shay and Joe and everybody else that's involved. And we're moving. We're moving a lot here in Marana. We got a lot of stuff going on, and I want to start with talking about the Gate Church that I visited a couple weeks ago. It was really cool. I got an invite from Pastor Pastor Willard, Pastor David Willard, to go and speak at the church. And not only that, I got to take in what was going on and feel the Spirit, and it was great. And while I was there, I ended up talking to a gentleman that's here with me today. His name's Ken. He's right here in the seat next to me, and we had a good conversation about stuff. And you were talking to me about what you were involved in with the church and how you ended up there and everything. So I kind of want to cover that piece first. Talk about how you got here in Marana, what you're doing at the church, and the other thing is, please pronounce your last name if you could.
Boasso.
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 Boasso. I was like, when I do the intro, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna try.
Everybody does it.
I'm on the other end of that often. Yes. I've been called Samoan, San Diego, all kinds of different things. So I'm like, I'll let him cover that. But
good.
Thanks for being here, man.
Than's for having me. It's really good to be here.
Yeah.
This is good. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It is. How'd you get here? Where are you from? I know you're not from here. So where are you from and everything?
So my wife and I are from, we don't talk about it too much. We're from Northern California. And we came here about 3.5 years ago. Excuse me. And it was just a change of scenery, change of weather. We came for the weather. We love Tucson. And it took us a while, about 6 months or 7 months or so, to find Gate. We toured Tucson. We sampled churches all over the place, and one day landed in Gate Church and said, "Oh, this is the place." So we've been working there now since we landed, volunteering and contributing as best we can. And after about a year or so, year and a half, I guess, Pastor David asked me if I would help him with what we call Discipleship, a recovery ministry.
Yeah. When dealing with recovery, have you yourself experienced that world?
Sure.
Yeah.
I've been involved in recovery now for going on 15 years. I started in California before we came down here. And one of the things that we looked for when we landed here was a place where I could continue with recovery meetings and participating in the program. I had been in a kind of a quasi-leadership role before, but really what I wanted to do when we got here was focus on me. I'm not real comfortable with that, but I needed to continue with my own work for a while. And so I did for a year and a half before we got involved with Gate.
Okay. And where's Gate located for the listeners and viewers?
Gate, we're on West Ina, 4102 West Ina, and we're at the corner of Ina and Old Father. We're right next door to the old, can I say it? The old 99-cent only store. There was a restaurant in our space before, and we gutted that place and remodeled it and put the church in there. It's a really nice location.
It's really great. It's really cool.
It's beautiful.
So inviting. When I went in there, you go inside, and then you have your coffee bar, and there's treats and everything. And it's cool because it has a space where people can talk.
Yes.
Engage.
It fits with our profile with what it is that the church wants to do. We're very family oriented and not just, we welcome obviously families, but we act as a family. And that's one of the things that my wife and I really liked. We came from a very large church. We had 3,000 people at our home church. But then we came down here and we realized that we wanted something that was more intimate. And the relationship with David and his wife Gretchen is just fabulous. And we're able to connect with all kinds of people as a result.
Yeah. One thing that was really cool too is the worship music.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It had this Southern feel to it.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like to me. You
Yes.
know, it's just a whole different feel. And
Gates started as a cowboy church, so they were out in the desert and ministering to, I don't know any other way of saying it's probably not accurate, but itinerant cowboys, and it grew from there. So David and the worship team have that very kind of rustic country feel.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah,
the rustic country feel.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and we do typical regular worship as well. And we've got some very talented people there. Pastor Savannah is a great worship leader, and so we have a lot of fun with it. It's good.
Yeah, you know the coolest thing about what we're talking about right now is it's here, Marana.
Yeah. Yes,
and you guys are literally just across the street from us.
Yeah, and our goal, I mean, we have this on all of our paperwork, we have it on our door. Our goal is to love and transform the people of Marana. That's what we want to be here for. Pastor Gretchen said not long ago, I really love the way that she put it. If we ceased to exist, then we want Marana to miss us. We want them to notice that we're not around, and that's what we're striving for.
Yeah. Hey, can you pull up the graphic with that he was just talking about transforming? I sent it in the Slack for you. So the Slack machine is where we send all of our photos and everything, where they can just pull them in. And I guess I didn't send it to you. I'm sorry. But hey, let's pull that up. Let's pull that one up of Ken I got right there too. There he is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. There you are doing your thing. The lamp is cool because the lamp was there when I visited.
Yes.
And I got to talk right there,
yes,
which is really cool.
Yes.
Did you know that was my first time ever talking at a church?
No, really?
That was my first time ever.
I would never guessed. You did a great job.
I appreciate that. That's good to hear.
It was a lot of fun. And that's part of the thing that we're doing, right? We have people in there to talk to us about what's going on here in Marana so that we can integrate better and more closely with community and see what it is that we can do. It's all about helping the city, and that's what we want to be.
Yeah, and that's great because you had a lot of influential folks come by and talk at the church.
We've had, can I name them?
Yeah, absolutely.
We've had the Dr. Streeter, who's the superintendent of Marana Unified Schools.
He's coming on after us.
Today?
Today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's a great speaker, and he's got some really, really fabulous ideas about education in Marana. And it's interesting to listen to him. He's such a down-to-earth guy, and when he talks about what it is that he does, it's I have to remind myself, he's talking about, staff and students. It's a small city that he oversees, right? When you put all of those people together. One of the stats that and I won't quote it because I'll get it wrong, but the number of miles that his buses run every day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't remember the number, but I was like, whoa.
Right,
yeah.
Whoa. So we had him, we had the fire chief come. And he had some very good and practical things for us that we could do. And again, to help, he gave us a lot of statistics, a lot of information about, event timelines, and everything is all about what happens. There's very little we can do to control when the EMTs arrive. But it's that time in between when the event starts and the time we call 911 that's where we can control things. And so learning to do CPR, learning to do fire extinguishers and things like that. It's just really important. And it's stuff that we all should know, but we don't think about. And we should think about it, right? So
yeah, no, you're right. So being a former law enforcement, I was first responder for 11 years. And that moment you're talking about is the most critical moment of that event.
And for all events.
For all events, right? So knowing how to navigate that, it's incredible. It's incredible knowledge.
Well, and one
it's
of the
incredible
things
to practice.
that we know is that's the word. One of the things that we know is that the more we practice that, then the more it becomes second nature, and the less panic there is, and the more efficient we become at it. I mean, it's just like anything else, right? If I know what I'm supposed to do, then I can do it, and I can be more efficient about doing it. So we just need to practice and get people involved.
Yeah, absolutely. God's story for you. Okay. And this is just a personal experience. As I've grown into this role here, working with my partners, Clint, Tammy, and everybody here in the company, it was probably just before the new year. I would say probably around November-ish. I prayed, and one of the things that I really wanted to focus on was public speaking. And I said, hey God, can you help me be all right with this? Like, I'm cool with all right. Like, just get me in the door somewhere where I can practice it and do that. Because we do, do presentations to intimate little things with clients and stuff like that. But I was like, put me in front of some people. I want to see. I want to try it out, see how it goes. And something comes up with the chamber. I get to do a chamber lunch or something too. But and then after that, I was like, I want to hope I can do it some more. Right. And then I get contacted by you guys, and I'm like, this is all happening. And then there's a couple other things that have come up, and I'm like, how cool is that?
Well, and it's what's so cool about it is it's all it took was for you to ask.
Yeah.
Right. You express the interest, and then the Lord fills in and then supports you in the effort. Right. That's the cool thing about it.
Yeah, and it's I wanted to share that because it's not that hard.
No.
Right. And you don't know how it's going to happen, right? When you go, public speaking, I didn't know what the venue would be. I didn't know how it was going to turn out, right? It could have went up in flames, know, but it was the opportunity that showed up from it. And when you see God's work and you see it happening, and then we have this relationship now. Now, ever since we visited, we've gone to lunch together.
Right.
We've sat down and broke bread and had conversations about, now we all have goals as a collective group.
And we understand what those goals are, and we have the word that comes in my head, we have sympathy with one another, right? We have an understanding of who we are and what our mutual goals are, and as long as the kingdom comes first, then God's going to make sure that it happens.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great
awesome
stuff.
It is. And here we are talking on the show.
Right.
You know, and to the non-believers, I mean, do your thing and whatever, but I just wanted to share that with you. I tell a lot of people too, I'm still a baby Christian. Like I wasn't in church or anything for a lot of my life, but I always believed in something else, and I prayed pretty often. And I just want to share that. So like if you're feeling that, like that gap in life, and you're looking for some help, just pray.
Well, and it's fun to pray, ask the Lord, and then trust Him to guide you and do what it is that He suggests. I had a guy over at the house, just yesterday. We were talking about some work that I need to have done at the house, and as he was leaving, he started talking about his new faith and what to do and where to go. He just recently got engaged. His fiance lives out of town, and she's planning on moving to Tucson soon, and they're going to be looking for a church. And he used that opportunity to explain his connection with the church, his connection with faith and with the Lord, but then at the same time to ask for guidance about what he should be doing, what he could be doing. It's an opportunity for me to talk about what Gate does, but also to just help him just in general, and make a connection into the kingdom and the community. It's amazing. We just follow up what the Lord says, right?
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna go to a quick break here, but when we get back, let's talk recovery. Let's share ideas on thoughts on it, and explain the process and how people can get started with it. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks for the bumper music, Shane. That's great. We'll be right back. We're going to visit a couple quick sponsors, and we will get back with Ken and talk a little bit more about Gate Church and recovery.
Excellent.
Looking for the best outdoor patio in Tucson? Look no further than St. Philip's Plaza at the southeast corner of River and Campbell, where you can sip on Tucson's finest collection of whiskey at Union Public House, brunch 7 days a week at Reforma Modern Mexican Mezcal and Tequila, and experience our newest restaurant, Proof, proudly serving house-made pasta and artisanal pizza. Enjoy live music and dine under the stars with Union, Reforma, and Proof. Join us at St. Philip's Plaza.
Hi, this is Sean McCluskey, co-owner and designated broker for Rincon Ventures. If you're a rental owner by choice or by accident and you're looking to hire or change property management companies, consider Rincon Ventures. We employ an aggressive web-based advertising strategy to market your rental. We thoroughly screen prospective tenants and conduct routine property inspections. Our online system gives tenants the ability to pay rent and file maintenance requests instantly over the web. Our owners can use the same system to instantly check on their properties. Call Rincon Ventures at 881-2258 or visit us on the web at rvprop.com.
80% of those that have been incarcerated have been in foster care. So that's crazy to think that 8 out of every 10 inmates, male or female, have touched the foster care system. So if we can break the cycles that cause the foster care system to even be in existence, we're going to change society.
At GAP, I found love.
I found family.
It means hope.
It was almost like I had a family away from my own family. At Gap, I found home.
And we're back. Thank you, Shay. Okay, so let's talk recovery.
Yep.
The recovery thing, and this is my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
and we get to talk about opinions here because we're not FCC regulated, nor are we bowing down to anybody as far as...
Praise the Lord.
except no agenda, but...
Right.
So recovery to me, and this is stemming from injuries,
Mm-hmm.
life experience, stuff I've seen. Recovery truly never ends.
No.
And I feel like people get caught up in that mode thinking that if I go and do A, B, and C, this is going to get me to a point where it's gone. It's over. I'm completely healed. Hallelujah. I'm moving on. I'm going to the mall. I'm going shopping.
Yes.
Whatever it is, right? So I wanted to express just from experience and conversations I've had with loved ones is understanding that recovery never ends, that it's a constant process.
Yes.
And there are setbacks.
Yes.
Right? So let's talk about recovery and what you're doing in that and how where's my opinion on that? What do you think about that? And go from there.
So we do some ministry work over at Teen Challenge here at the Men's Center in Tucson. And I was talking with the men's director there, and he put it in a way that I thought was just really, really brilliant. What we do in recovery is we pursue a relationship with God, and healing comes to us as a byproduct of that relationship with the Lord. When we do it that way, it becomes a lifestyle, and we understand that even on my best day, I'm a lousy Jesus. But the more time I spend with the Lord, the better I get at it. But at the same time, I need to continue spending time with the Lord in order to get there, in order to continue to get there. And it's not a lifestyle choice, but it's a growth pattern. And I continue to grow and reveal things in my behavior and my character that I need to change. I need to grow into, or I need to tweak if it's just a small change, so that I can become more healthy. And it's all about dealing with other people. I mean, if I can skip ahead, the last principle, the last point to recovery is to take what I've learned and then serve the community, which is why it's such a powerful way of living, because I'm not about myself anymore.
That's really important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because the things that got me into the need of recovery in the first place usually are things that are self-focused. If I'm focused on I, me, mine all the time, to use George Harrison's title, is it's not healthy. It's not good. And I'm never satisfied.
Yeah. When talking about recovery, one thing that I've seen with folks is they get really beat up.
Mm-hmm.
They beat themselves up a lot on those days. Like you said, where, on your best day, still a lousy Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they beat themselves up for those days where there's some setbacks.
Yes.
And what do you say to those folks that are experiencing that or in that cycle right now? What are you telling them? What are you sharing with them gospel-wise? How do they get out of that rut?
Well, so when we're hard on ourselves, I mean, one of the things that I would do is I would ask why. Why are you being hard on yourself? And generally what I would say is that the answer is going to be is that they're not forgiving themselves. So a big part of recovery is forgiveness. We need to forgive the people in our lives who have treated us poorly or have hurt us or have done things to us that we don't like. But we also need to forgive ourselves, and we need to forgive the Lord. And a lot of people will resist the suggestion of both of those things. I don't need to forgive myself. I haven't done anything. Well, that's not necessarily true. We look back on our lives, we look at things that we've done, and when we live in regret, recovery teaches us not to live in regret, and it teaches us not to live in worry, which is worrying about tomorrow. It teaches us to live today, and do the best we can do today. If we find ourselves in a situation where it's hard, it's difficult right this minute, then we deal with what's hard now, and then take the next step forward.
As Dwight from The Office would say, one crisis at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's one crisis at a time. And the other thing is, and this is a big thing for me, and it's probably because it's my own recovery testimony is, the first principle, the first lesson, the first question that we ask people is to make a list of all of the things in their lives that they can control. And so if somebody comes to me and they're frustrated about something, or they're upset about something, or they're arguing about something, my response to be, well, tell me what you can control here. The answer to that question is the only thing that we can really control in our lives is how we respond to things. Not react, but respond. And when we get a hold of that, and we run into a problem, then we can take a step back from that problem and go, okay, well, where am I in control here? How can I respond better to that so that I can move through it? Because frequently it's not our deal. It's not up to us to cope with whatever that thing is. It could be a spouse, it could be a boss, it could be the guy that's driving down the road in front of us who's driving, we think, too slow. And what can I control here, right?
Yeah.
I can pass him.
Right.
I can slow down and practice serenity driving, whatever it is.
Serenity driving.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
I love that one.
Serenity driving. Get on the freeway in the slow lane, drive the speed limit, and don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry. See how long it takes you to be in the fast lane doing 75.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. You talk about responding to controlling how we respond.
Mm-hmm.
First off, amen to that, right? I can tell you right now, I've always struggled with that. I'm one of those guys that, I just like to make things happen, quick.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's solving an issue, fixing something that breaks, right? Or we need to get this done, we're just going to get it done kind of thing. And when you're in that mode, it's easy to make things worse when you respond wrong.
Sure.
Or not, I wouldn't say respond wrong. Let me reword it. If you respond a certain way,
yes,
right?
And what it is, and this is what recovery, for me, this is what recovery is all about. It's this need that we have to be in control. And one of the principles to recovery is to let God be in control, let God be in charge of what's happening. We have to put our faith in Him. He wants us to be whole and well, and all we need to do is trust Him. Now, I say all we need to do. That's really hard sometimes because we don't have His eternal vision. We don't know what it is that He's looking at, what He sees. And so therefore, sometimes we just need to move forward in faith, even though we don't know what's next.
Yeah. I've heard something, I'm going to probably mess this up, and I apologize. It's if you want to see something funny, show God your plans.
Yes.
I hope I was close on that.
But it is close. I mean, it's accurate too, right? Because he will laugh at that because He's got His own plans. And I don't know that necessarily His plans always are to stretch us, to grow us. And this is one of the reasons why I like recovery so much, because it's a stretching, it's a growth for us. I want to be a disciple of Jesus. I want to live more like Him. I want to behave more like Him. I read the Gospels and say, yeah, I see this man who was just eternally patient. He didn't lose his temper. He didn't lose his cool. He didn't get angry with individuals. He got angry with things that were his anger was righteous over things that there were a misunderstanding or a misuse of God's kingdom. But what He wants is He wants all of us to settle into God's plan and let God be in charge. All God wants from us is our affection. All He wants from us is for us to accept His. And we can't do that if we're constantly arm wrestling Him for control.
Absolutely. Let's talk culture.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's pretty obvious that in today's culture, victimhood is a crutch.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Pattern of circumstance is a crutch. When you are working with folks in recovery, do you see that is a prevalent crutch in regards to what you're working on? Because I can say I've seen victimhood used often. Woe is me. This is the circumstances I have. This is what I was given.
Yeah.
This is my life.
Yeah.
This is the environment that I was raised in, right? how often do you see that as a huge part of ending up in this position in recovery?
Well, so that's a big part of how people end up in need of recovery, right? Because they're blaming their circumstance, they're blaming their upbringing or their schooling or lack thereof, or they're blaming a boss or a parent or whatever. And my testimony involves a lot of conversation myself about my family and my upbringing and my folks and stuff. But by the time we get people into a program of recovery, hopefully they're acknowledging that. What I experience now more than anything else are patterns of thinking and patterns of speech. One of my favorite guys in recovery that I'm working with now loves to explain his somewhat erratic behavior sometimes by blaming it on his ADHD. I'm ADHD, and so this is why I do what I do. And he acknowledges that what he's doing isn't necessarily appropriate, but he's blaming the ADHD. And I say, you have to stop doing that, because you're speaking power into that behavior or into that condition. Whether you are attention deficit or not is beside the point. Right. What we need to do is we need to come against that rather than give power to it. And folks that are in recovery are learning those things. And so we can acknowledge our past and the things that have happened to us that brought us to a place where we needed recovery without leaning on that. If we're leaning on it, then we haven't in all recovery that I'm aware of, the first step is to acknowledge that your life is out of control. I acknowledge my life's out of control and I'm not doing the right things. Well, if I'm blaming something else, then I'm not acknowledging that. I'm still struggling for power myself.
You're talking to ADHD, so you deal with anxiety as well.
Yeah, we
I see that a lot.
Yeah, we so our recovery. I mean, our recovery is whole. I should say holistic. I don't know if that's the right word, but we deal with folks who have, obviously substance problems, alcohol, drugs, whatever, and then behavioral issues or bad habits. I mean, I've never had anybody in recovery who wanted to stop smoking, but that's there. A big thing, particularly with men nowadays and growing in women, is porn addiction and the internet and all of that kind of stuff. But anxiety, pride, overeating, spending or not spending, right? Hoarding money or whatever. We have all kind of affliction. We have people that come into recovery who are dealing with the problems and the traumas that they developed growing up because they were children of adult alcoholics. We have folks who come in who are codependent. And codependent, basically what that means is that I'm going to do whatever I can do to make sure that you're happy so that I don't have to deal with whatever problem you have. And we have that all over the place in recovery. So that's the thing about our program that I like so much, is that it's across the board. Nobody is perfect. Everybody can benefit from improving, getting better about how they're coping with life. And that's what we do. We pursue Jesus so that we give people the skills to do that.
Thank you for doing that.
Thanks.
That's a big deal. And I love that you covered all these different issues that could be at hand that someone might be dealing with, and not putting it into this narrow aisle of these are just the problems that we help folks deal with. You're talking about, the new technology stuff, right? You're talking about the porn addiction, stuff like that. I've heard that from a couple folks that are like, yeah, I just like, they're addicted to it and they can't get away from it. And it's like, well, here's a resource for you.
Yes.
Right. Or the money thing, right? They're overspending. I've heard so many people say, yeah, my spouse just goes on Amazon spending sprees right when payday comes.
Right. But think about these things, David. All of these things are symptoms, right? I was talking with my wife yesterday about people who just continue to work and work and work so they can acquire more and more and more and build up these massive portfolios and become rich and successful, and they're never happy. They have a hole that they can't fill, and it doesn't matter how much money they put in there, it doesn't matter how much success they put in or how much work they do, they're not getting better. They're not filling that hole. And the reason is that all of these things, whether it be drugs and alcohol or shopping or food or whatever, they're all symptoms of this lack that we have. This what I like to think of, what I call the broken relationship with God, this vertical relationship. I read a book called The Crack in the Vertical, and it's all about the fact that I don't understand who I am in God, and that's what I need recovery for.
Do you feel that this is a big problem for that?
Can be.
Do you feel
for
that
a lot of people?
Do you feel that the scrolling of the feed and seeing all these things that would lead somebody to feel inadequate?
Sure, because they're comparing themselves to
Constantly.
And it's all about getting likes. It's all about, so I'm going to stroke my ego because I got, 1 million or 100,000 or what, however many likes I got on what it was that I posted. And I think, social media is a massive, it's a huge benefit. It has a lot of benefits, but it can be in the wrong hands, a massive drain. A tool of the enemy to get us to distract. And I'm sitting here, I'm talking to a guy, this is, I understand the business that we're in here, right?
Oh, and you know what? I understand the good things about it, and I understand the bad things about it. When I was in law enforcement, one of my last details was working at a high school. And 95% of the caseload I dealt with the students in the high school always came back to this.
Because what? Because they saw something on the phone?
That they saw stuff on the phone, they made threats on the phone,
oh, wow.
They sold drugs on the phone. Everything was here. And it was to the point where even some of the phones, your calculator app, for instance, right?
Yeah.
There was an app that looked just like the calculator, but it was actually a vault where you could save information and conversations and all kinds of different things, pictures.
Wow.
And instead of doing math on the calculator, solving a problem, that was, you put in your PIN code on that calculator app, and looks like you're using it, but it's just opening the vault and all that stuff.
And you're storing things in there that you're hiding from other people,
right?
Or you're distributing.
So I've seen the very dark side of it,
and that's just like any other tool that we have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have tools all over the place, and they do well, they do good, and they do bad. And it's I don't like blaming the tool.
Yeah.
Right. It's not the tool's fault. It's a hammer is a hammer. It drives nails.
Oh, we're getting in the weeds now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but it's legit, right? That's what you're saying. Yeah.
And so I don't want to blame the tool, but we need to, as responsible people, we need to make sure that we're using the tool properly, right? And
educate folks when you're getting ready to give them that tool.
Absolutely.
Because I think what we've seen, and this is another opinion by David. Welcome, Shameless Plug. This is another opinion about the technology. Look, I love this technology. I think it's great. We do a lot of great things with it here. But I think what we're seeing right now is this generation that was handed this technology without proper education. And it runs so fast. And legislation's so slow. I mean, you see it when we try to get certain ordinance or legislation passed on regulating certain things, right? We've handed folks that are in my generation and lower, right? We've handed them the world in their hands.
Yes.
Without understanding both sides of it,
well,
the good and the dark, right? And it's like, has this with the internet and everything, these phones and these devices, have these led to compounding problems?
Sure, of course they have. And I mean, it's a fascinating question. It's a fascinating topic. I think the thing that you hit on is the understanding, right? So, as a parent of a younger person, my son knows more about the technology than I do. He knows more about the capability than I do. He knows more about social media than I do. How am I going to teach him and lead him and guide him about this particular technology? The other thing that we see happen all the time, and it surprises me. My wife and I were having dinner one night, and we saw a man and his 3 daughters at a table nearby us sit down for dinner. And we thought, oh, well, that's so sweet. Dad's having dinner with his children. And within 2 minutes, all of the 3 little girls, and they're grade school age girls, have a phone or a tablet in front of them, and they're playing games or watching, and there's no conversation happening there.
That's terrible.
It is. It was horrible. And what we did with this technology is we use it as a babysitter. We use it as a way to distance ourselves from our children. We don't have to be responsible for them. And at the same time, we're not paying attention to what they're doing, what they're learning, what they're hearing on it. Nothing gets my hackles up more than when I hear a story about some TikTok trend that kids are doing, and they're hurting themselves because nobody's paying attention to what they're doing. That can be an addiction as well. We can get to a point where what we're doing is we're spending more time consulting the technology, the phone or the tablet or the computer or whatever, than we are in dealing with things appropriately, because we're addicted to it. And I'm I don't want to say I'm concerned, but I'm aware of what's going on with all this artificial intelligence.
Yeah, AI.
Yeah,
that's a topic we talk about pretty often.
Is it?
Here.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same thing, right?
It's
Understanding, and then the good that can be done with it, and the bad that can be done.
Right, and what we do is we create this kind of a reliance on these things without understanding them, without opening up the hood and looking inside. And making sure that we understand, where is this coming from? What's the information that's being provided to us? But that's an entirely different conversation, right? I mean,
maybe next show together.
I
Ken,
could do this with you all day long,
yeah.
right? But that's an entirely different conversation. What I'm concerned about primarily is how we can. I mean, we want to use the technology, we want to use the resource appropriately, but at the same time, we have to make sure that the primary relationship that's important is the relationship between us and God.
Amen. Hey, we got to jet out of here.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to bring Clint on for a couple minutes after you. What is give us something. Give people something for their bucket. Positive stuff for their bucket to close out here. What do you got for them?
Well, recovery is real. The process works. We use at Gate Church, we celebrate recovery as a discipleship program. And the more time and attention that we spend with Jesus and pursuing him and pursuing his lifestyle, the better we get. I'm living proof of the fact that it works. I got myself into recovery because I had an anger issue. People who knew me back then wouldn't know me today because I'm not quite so angry anymore. But the process works, and it's all about serving him so that we can learn to serve others, and that's what I'm all about.
Ken, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Hey, we're going to go to a quick break. After we get back, Clint's going to join us, and he's going to talk about his show coming up with Dr. Dan Streeter from the Marana Unified School District. He is the superintendent there, overseeing, I think, just about 1,700 plus people. I don't know, no big deal. And I think that's just staff. That's not
just staff.
That's not talking about students. So he's got a lot on his plate. But like you said, he's a great speaker. He's a great presenter. He has great ideas. They got this really cool new high school coming. So we're pumped for that. So stay tuned. We will catch you here in a couple minutes.
Looking for the best outdoor patio in Tucson? Look no further than St. Philip's Plaza at the southeast corner of River and Campbell, where you can sip on Tucson's finest collection of whiskey at Union Public House, brunch 7 days a week at Reforma Modern Mexican Mezcal and Tequila, and experience our newest restaurant, Proof, proudly serving house-made pasta and artisanal pizza. Enjoy live music and dine under the stars with Union, Reforma, and Proof. Join us at St. Philip's Plaza.
Hi, this is Sean McCluskey, co-owner and designated broker for Rincon Ventures. If you're a rental owner by choice or by accident and you're looking to hire or change property management companies, consider Rincon Ventures. We employ an aggressive web-based advertising strategy to market your rental. We thoroughly screen prospective tenants and conduct routine property inspections. Our online system gives tenants the ability to pay rent and file maintenance requests instantly over the web. Our owners can use the same system to instantly check on their properties. Call Rincon Ventures at 881-2258 or visit us on the web at rvprop.com.
80% of those that have been incarcerated have been in foster care. So that's crazy to think that 8 out of every 10 inmates, male or female, have touched the foster care system. So if we can break the cycles that cause the foster care system to even be in existence, we're going to change society.
At GAP, I found love.
I found family.
It means hope. It was almost like I had a family away from my own family. At GAP, I found home.
listening to the Live the Dream Media Network, Arizona's premier live podcast studio and online radio.
And we are back. Fixed my mic a little bit. I was a little quiet. But Shay, you're doing awesome work in there. Thank you so much. Clint Peak.
We're back.
El Presidente
Hey, we're back.
of Live the Dream Media.
Yeah,
How are you this morning?
I'm awesome. Another day in paradise.
It is. It's
Making history, all that good
Making
stuff.
history.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Oh, it's awesome. It's it feels good to have internet working today. Had a lot of conversations yesterday about the stream going down and everything, and we talked about sometimes you get a little extra waves on the coming at the boat every once in a while, and you gotta take care of business.
It was frustrating.
And,
It was really frustrating for you and Tammy and Chris. I get that. I just know that technology from my early childhood forward, it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Now we don't like it and we want to prevent it, but you just got to keep everything in perspective. Remember, we're pioneers, David. What we're doing,
right?
And we're in that covered wagon, and the wheels fall off once in a while. We're in the ruts, and we're out there by ourselves. So I don't get. Yesterday was a little bit frustrating for me because you guys, people I care about, were frustrated. So maybe I let that leak out a little bit. But oh well, we're back today.
We are back on local Marana, and
you know what's cool? We have a backup to the backup to the backup
on its way.
On its way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about that more because I'm slow sometimes to catch on how things really work. But yesterday I got a real clear explanation of how everything works.
Yeah.
And
I think the internet company got to kind of figure out how everything works for themselves too. And
well, they're a mess. And I'll call them out by name. We're talking Xfinity, Comcast.
Yeah.
They are just...
The guy that helped us yesterday was next level.
Good.
But everything before. Oh,
but
man.
David, you got this huge. I don't know how many people work or are contractors to Comcast. It's got to be tens of thousands of people, and they're just clueless. And there's no like I said to Tammy, there's no we have our own account manager. We're starting with somebody new in a foreign country 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Every time we start, that's just the worst way to run a business that I can imagine. Right? I mean, we especially businesses, there should be an account executive or someone that works with us. 1 or 2 people, don't have to be the same person, but you're reinventing the wheel. I read something a while ago. It was about our new fire chief or an interim fire chief here in town. And it was Tim Steller was talking. He's got an article about hiring within, and we've hired within the last several times. There's pros and cons to that. I'm not taking that, but he used the fire department in New York one time. They had an emergency. The dispatcher, because that person knew the area, knew exactly where that situation was taking place. So familiarity sometimes can breed contempt, but familiarity sometimes can cut through a lot of hurdles because like yesterday with Comcast, I heard my wife at one point say, bless her heart, as she was talking about it afterwards, well, thanks for the 56 minutes that I'll never get back that we didn't solve anything.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if we have somebody that knows us and knows what we're doing, that's why we're here doing local Marana.
Mm-hmm.
The importance of local and small businesses are paramount. Everything is local. Everything needs to be local. If you and I were Comcast yesterday, it would have been personal to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to fix this problem. You're our customer. We love you. We're neighbors. If you got this conglomerate that just has no clue, you got people working all over the globe doing this. And how many times have we had a problem here with our Comcast?
A lot
in the last couple. One in the last 5 years. And what do they all tell us? I'm shame on you, Xfinity. Well, the last guy didn't know what he was doing. That's everybody's response, by the way, right? The last guy didn't know what he was doing. The last guy didn't know what he was doing. That's a shame.
Say what you want about Elon Musk, but he has been summoned to assist us here with his Starlink.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I want to get into a little bit about what we're doing. We got a couple more minutes, but I think we got to take next level on that after talking to Tammy yesterday. I think we need to mount it on the building somewhere.
Yeah.
And let that be our primary. And if there's something that we need as a backup, then we use Comcast as a backup, as opposed to the other way around. We're doing a little see how we roll here?
Yeah.
We make decisions just like this, don't we, David?
Yeah.
On a pretty regular basis.
Sure do. It's part of the gig.
Yeah.
It's part of the gig.
I love it when Joe Rogan talks about that with, there's three of us make a decision and we can make those pretty quick. Cool guest coming up.
You got Dr. Dan Streeter coming on after here. Yeah.
Good guy,
I'm excited
man.
to hear.
Yeah, I love him. He's just such a good human being. Got his work cut out for him. What'd you mention? 1,700 employees.
I'm roughly.
I'm going to ask him. I think that's what it is.
Me.
I think that's what it is. It's an incredible number. And I don't know how many people go. Well, I'll ask him. Thousands of kids enrolled in.
Well, just in
Marana.
one high school, you got over 2,000.
Yeah.
2,000 students, right? That's just one high school. And there's
you know what?
multiple
You know what? What I'm going to ask. I don't want to give away the whole interview, but chat. I don't do interviews. How do we get parents to buy into this? Because that's really where the biggest fault lies.
Buy into what?
Buy into getting an education for your kids. It's real easy to blame the school district, and there's plenty of blame to go around. But I mean,
did you hear what Ken was saying on
watching it
on the show about how the parents are just handing their kids devices?
Exactly.
So we have a real strict screen time at home, and it's really interesting. We've watched our kids, and there's a huge correlation with bad attitude and the screen time. And if they get over a certain amount of screen time, you notice a complete change in their attitude. You know what? I don't want to rally on this too hard, but it's just the facts. You know what I've noticed in today's society right now? There's a lot. I think that, you know what I really think this goes back to? I think this goes back to a lot of participation trophies have been handed out over the last generation. Yeah. The last 20, 30 years. Oh, absolutely. And I see it play out on social. Man. Matter of fact, we live on social media because that's what we do. We're digital, right? Mm-hmm. So we spend a lot more time maybe there than what we should. I can't hardly deal with the digital world that we live in now. Mm-hmm. It's just so, first off, it's negative. Polarized. Yeah. It's negative. It's screaming. It's hollering. It's calling people the worst names you could possibly imagine. You have political leaders asking for violence. Yeah. Which is like, what? Yeah. What way to lead, my friend. Way to lead. You have that stuff, and then you go back to the participation trophies. You see a lot of unrest from that social behavior that we allowed. And you see all this crazy stuff happening with, we'll say it with Tesla and different things. Dealerships getting what's insane. Being set on fire, and mental illness. To have that conversation, it's like, well, you can say mental illness, but we can't. That's a large number of mental illness or whatever you're highlighting in that. Or are we talking? When I say mental illness, I don't mean necessarily something that someone was born with a mental illness, because there are plenty of people that were born with mental issues. They just were. But this is almost like we have programmed mental illness. Dang. By behavior, by teaching, by our how we've taught people over the last several years. I got a kid coming in tomorrow, my barber. This is a perfect week for me for the Clint Peak Show, because when I created this thing, or the first thoughts started coming to me, I wanted a wide group of people that I could sit and talk to. So this week we had Executive Pastor Chris Collins from the Orla Valley Church of the Nazarene on Monday. Today we got Dr. Dan Streeter, Superintendent of Schools of Marana School District. And then we have my barber, Zach McClure, coming on tomorrow. A nice young kid, grew up here in the Valley. And that's kind of the wide scope of people that I wanted to talk to. People in the community, people that were business leaders, people that were worship leaders and spiritual leaders, and then people that like Zach that are just out there trying to make a living in a small business, thriving business, by the way. Mm-hmm. And so that's really cool. But he was asking me yesterday, I got a haircut, and he's like, Clint, why aren't we teaching critical thinking?
Because that should be, as a kid growing up, there was a lot of that. If I look back at it now, and I grew up in a little rural area, there was a lot of critical thinking. In other words, what do you think about this? How would you solve this problem as opposed to teaching to a test? And our kids, and that's not working because our kids can't read or write. Not just here, but nationally.
Yeah.
And I had a guy on a couple of weeks ago, Chris Hold'em. He teaches in South Korea. And I was talking to someone this week that's from the Philippines. Man, your kids start at school at 8:00 in the morning, and they run right on through till 4, and then they go home, get something to eat, and then they're out to they're in school from 8 to 8, Monday through Friday, pretty much year round. Well, no wonder some of these what I would call almost third world countries are kicking our butt in every aspect of education.
It's interesting. But hey, I don't want to take from your guys' show you got coming up with Dr. Dan Streeter.
That was a great show you guys
education.
just did.
Hey, thanks. Yeah,
that was awesome.
It was great to have Ken. It was great to meet him. And
we were out there watching it in the green room. It was really
awesome.
It was really cool.
Well, hey, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today to Local Marana. We will see you next week. Also, stay tuned for the Clint Peak Show. Don't miss it. It's going to be going. We got Dr. Dan Streeter. Yeah. He's done a lot of things with us. He's a great community leader, so don't miss out on it. Yeah. Visit localmarana.com, check out the Facebook page and other stuff that we're doing, and stay tuned for our exciting tourism stuff that we have coming out here later this year. And as always, we appreciate and love you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you.